welcome into episode 45, Fools. And today, as promised, we have our week 10 preview. This is going to be an exciting week of football. How many buys do we have this week? Who's on bye in week 10? I forgot to update that. The Browns, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks. So big fantasy implications there. Cedric Tillman's out. Nick Chubb is out. James Ford. You've got all the Packers. Raiders, you're seeing that Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers out. And from the Seahawks side, it is going to hurt you with Geno Smith out, Kenneth Walker Jr., Zach Charbonnet, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigbo. We talked about last episode a lot.
It's going to help you a lot with giving Metcalf one more week of just recovery, though.
It is. But moving right into it, we have our Thursday night football matchup, and that is none other than the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens, a Burrows-Lamar rematch. This is going to be, I hope, an exciting Thursday night game. This has the potential to be the best game this weekend. It's because they're both hot offenses right now. Obviously, fantasy side, you're starting both the quarterbacks. There's no doubt about that. Derrick Henry, King Henry, obviously. Jamar Chase. I think you're even entering, after last week's performance, you're entering into seeing Zay Flowers be a lock in your as your wide receiver 1 or 2 in your lineup. Chase Brown proved he can run the ball. I think you're going in with confidence, especially knowing that Zach Moss is out. Sure, they got Khalil Herbert, but he's not going to be relevant for at least another week or two in your fantasy lineups. You also have to be on the radar for T. Higgins. I am not 100. T. Higgins, he's still out, and he didn't practice this past Tuesday, so be mindful of him. If he's in, play him. If he's not, watch out. But also definitely look for Mike Gesicki, who could be a flex tight end. He is performing pretty well on this season. And last week he had a killer week. He had, 2 touchdowns last week? We talked to him a lot on the recap this past episode. 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I like Baltimore's defense, but I don't like it this much. I would consider flexing him.
This is going to be a high. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to do. I don't think Cincinnati's going to pull away with it. I do think Baltimore's going to win the game, but I think it's going to be a very good game for Thursday Night Football, which, credit to Amazon. They finally actually have a good game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday Night Football is going to be awesome.
Thursday Night Football is always bad, but you know what? It's going to be finally good this year. Going on
this whole year, it's going to be good.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Last game was 41-38, so it's going to be high scoring.
41-38.
Okay, that's fair. All right, moving on to New York Giants versus Carolina. Really not a whole hell of a lot to be excited for here, other than the Giants might actually get a win and continue to plummet their draft stock so they can't even replace Daniel Jones. But Neighbors and Tracy, man, they are going to have a hell of a game, and I think Chuba will as well going back at the Giants. Giants do have a fairly decent defense, so maybe Chuba is going to have to get opened up in the receiving game, which I would encourage because I have him, so therefore I would love to see it. But outside of that, you're really not playing anyone else from Carolina. Bryce Young is still probably going to end up playing from the sound of what Andy Dalton's going through, and I wouldn't really want to play anyone else on the Giants. Maybe you consider Daniel Jones if you think he's going to run more, and maybe Theo Johnson, but I'm steering clear of both of them.
I think it's a bad defense.
We expect Jordan. We expect Jonathan Brooks to potentially be back this week. I don't think anyone who's got him is going to start him, but running backs are tight right now, and if you're desperate, who knows? He's had how many months off? If you're desperate, you're going to play him.
I would not recommend doing that, but you waited all year if you drafted him, you waited all year to have him play. I understand you wanting to be excited, but I think it's going to still be a Chuba show. He's their new toy. They're going to ease him in.
I do think, last thing about this game, I think Jones is a serviceable play this week with you guys like Geno out, Jordan Love out, with the bye weeks. It's a bad defense. The only thing else to say about this game is that we now have a reason to apologize to Germany for sending them this terrible game. But moving on, moving on to the next matchup, we've got New England versus Chicago. On New England's side, their offense shaky, their receiving game shaky. We saw Drake May go through some growing pains. I'm not comfortable starting him. I'm probably still starting Douglas, though. He's probably going to put up flex numbers. And I'm starting Ramondre Stevenson. That's about it. I don't see Hunter Henry continuing to have 7 receptions every week. On Chicago side of the ball, I'm starting DeAndre Swift. I'm very nervous to start any of the receivers, though. It's the passing game has not been clicking. DJ Moore has not been putting up the numbers you expected him to after having a breakout season last year. Really, I might just stick to the running backs for this game.
I think I like a Dunze in this game.
No.
It's
Nope.
a bad team, and Caleb and Adunze have some chemistry. He likes throwing the ball deep to Adunze, and I could see him going off on a big game on a big game and a big touchdown in this game.
I actually think Drake May could be a serviceable quarterback in this game, only because of his rushing room he has. Last week, James Conner, you had every running back on the Arizona Cardinals who tore through the defensive line and were able to run the ball on this team. The Chicago's have a great defense, don't get me wrong, but Drake May has great legs. This past week, 95 rushing yards. We could see this again. I think
he had to.
Right,
Yeah,
and
he
this
had
game
to.
he's going to have to too. You're going to see him run. Maybe, take off the 2 interceptions. You're looking at a 20-point week last week.
Fine. Okay. With the bye teams that we have this week, Drake May or Daniel Jones?
Drake May.
I'm doing Daniel Jones against
Daniel
Carolina versus
Jones.
Drake May against Chicago, without a doubt.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I got May on that one. But
Add it to
anyway,
the Duel of the Fools.
Jordan, you wrapped up with the Patriots and Bears game? All right, moving on to the Buffalo Bills versus the Indianapolis Colts. Let's see what Joe Flacco can do this week. On the start side, you're starting Josh Allen. I would say if Amari Cooper is healthy, you're going to have him in your lineup, right? You paid for him. You're going to put him if he's healthy, obviously with a shred of doubt in your eyes, but
I definitely
also
paid for him.
Right. Because Keon Coleman is questionable and they don't know where he is with his wrist, it could also boost Amari Cooper's value. James Cook, you're starting. Jonathan Taylor is really the only confident. I think we're starting to, like Mike, you said, we're starting to see Josh Downs move into that confident start week, but I'm going to need to see more from Flacco and him, especially after this past week. You're let's be real, you're going to have him flexing right now. He's going to be in your lineup, but definitely someone you're not going in with confidence. With Michael Pittman as well. On the Buffalo Bills side, you have Ray Davis and Khalil Shakir, who you could look to start with Coleman questionable. Shakir could be a good start. I still think he's the 4th read on this offense. I think it's Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, and then Khalil Shakir. But with Coleman out, maybe he'll get more looks. And Ray Davis, the rookie, he's kind of creeping up, being more relevant. So
he's staying relevant, which I give him a lot of credit for. I think I like pretty much every play in Buffalo in this game. I really think that all of them are going to get involved. I just think that no one's going to explode. There's not going to be one explosion here. It's going to be everyone's going to be serviceable. And
I like
Indianapolis, I think JT is going to be solid. I agree with you. And I like Downs as a solid play rather than just being a flex, but that's just me personally. I think Flacco and him are going to connect.
But
we good with this game?
We're good. Let's bring it on. Move it on.
Yeah. So moving on to Minneapolis and Jacksonville. So
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minneapolis and then Minnesota. You're right. I called it differently, but we're moving on.
You were like 100% wrong.
Okay, I was a
They're
little
not
bit
the
wrong.
Minneapolis Vikings. They're the Minnesota.
Now
Vikings.
look who's delaying us, Tyler. Okay,
Not
Vikings
me.
versus Jaguars here. We have Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, all solid locks. I also like playing Jordan Addison in this game. I think he's going to end up being a very relevant player in this one because I think they're going to dish the ball so much because everyone's going to focus so much on Justin Jefferson. But for Jacksonville, the only 2 plays I like are Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Etienne.
Yeah, that's
you know what? I take that back. I like Evan Ingram too. I like Evan Ingram too.
Yeah,
Trust Etienne
because he's going to be the pass catcher. He's going to be the pass catcher on the short term. I don't like Tank Bigsby in this one. I don't.
That's fair. I really like the Minnesota side of the ball in this game. I think I have Sam Darnold as like my must-start quarterback this week. Jacksonville's defense is not great, and he's got a full supporting cast. Hawkinson's healthy, JJ's healthy, Aaron Jones is healthy, Addison's healthy. It's going to be an awesome game.
And at that point, it's going to end up being a lead, and it's going to end up being them just trying to run the ball to kill the time. That's why I don't think anyone's going to explode.
I will say,
That's fair.
I think it's not a bad idea to keep a guy like Parker Washington on your radar. Parker Washington, 4 targets last week against the Packers, 6 targets this week, and 85% of snaps. He only logged 3 receptions for 41 yards, but I think he could continue to be a sneaky guy because Christian Kirk is out on IR. The only other guy besides Brian Thomas you're throwing to is Evan Ingram. That's it. Gabe Davis, I think, is the last read right now. So Parker Washington could be a slot guy. Just keep him on your radar. If you got the bench room, I don't think
keep him on your radar.
I think he's worth a bench spot. But if not, definitely keep him on your interest on him on those waiver wires.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next matchup. This one's going to be pretty much about defense, I think. It's really going to come down to how much the defense steps up for Denver and Kansas City. So,
man, this is a tough one, yeah.
This is a tough one to know who to play. Bo Nix, he's been playing awesome. And we've also got some pretty intense from pretty key QBs on bye weeks. That one, what do you guys think? I think I'm pretty confident.
Bo Nix or Daniel
starting
Jones?
Bo Nix. Bo Nix
or Daniel Jones?
Really?
Daniel Jones only because of the matchup.
I think I still choose Bo Nix.
Yeah?
I think I do.
That's a tough one.
The Ravens have a decent defense. I think, you know what?
Kansas City?
Kansas City. And, well, the Ravens last week had a tough defense. And Kansas City also this weekend have a tough defense. I would say I don't think Sean Payton is going to let this team lose as much as they did last week. So I do think it's going to be close. And if it's close, I do think Bo Nix is going to have some opportunities, whether it's on his legs or over in the air.
That's the next point I was going to bring up, Tyler. He's been showing the past few weeks that good things happen when he runs the ball. Sean Payton usually likes to have multiple runners. It kind of turns out it's not Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams. It's Javonte Williams and Bo Nix that he likes to have as his dual runners right now. I think, actually, Mike, I'm starting to think maybe Bo Nix this week. I'm unconfidently starting him.
Bo Nix.
Now, on the other side, I'm probably not starting.
He's been awesome.
Probably not starting Mahomes, just because, like we talked about earlier, he does enough to win, not enough to like dominate in fantasy like a Josh Allen guy does. But I'm probably starting Kareem Hunt, I'm starting Kelsey, and I'm starting D-Hop. If you got him, you got to start him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough matchup with this Denver defense, but I think the Chiefs always do what they got to do, whether it's going to relate to fantasy relevancy or not. I don't know. But so it'll be interesting to see. But moving on to Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints. From the Falcons side, start them. Yeah, just start them. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson. Look out for Drake London if he's healthy. Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. Look, if you got him, you're playing him. I would even say Tyler Algier is a start because they're going to get ahead and they're going to run the ball.
I agree. I love this matchup. I think Atlanta has really turned it. They've turned the corner to where they are now that powerhouse offense everyone expected them to be. And Drake London, with him being out, Darnell Mooney might be the number one, and he's already been a target machine. So he might really take off to the stratosphere this game until, of course, they get off to a big lead. The
only thing I would say in contention of that is new head coach on the Saints, interim head coach. Maybe he brings that culture around. We have seen it rebound the following week of a coach being fired. So I don't know if it's going to help. But on the Saints side, you're starting Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. There's no one else to play. There's no one else to play. You don't want to start guessing on the tight ends. I mean, maybe Juwan Johnson is like the next big guy.
Taysom Hill, I think, is a confident start. If you have Taysom Hill, I would play him. This is a matchup where Taysom Hill is going to perform because they need a receiver. Obviously he rushes the ball on that goal line. Kamara will get him there, and he's going to finish it up.
And you know what? I actually can't. You know what? I actually you're leaning me into that one. I feel so confidently about playing almost anyone you can against the Atlanta Falcons and against the Tampa Bay Bucks, which is honestly going to be my next move going into the next game because San Francisco 49ers versus Tampa Bay Bucks. This is going to be, I think, a high scoring game for both sides. The only people I'm really scared to play, who everybody's going to hate me on this one. If CMC is back, I don't trust playing either running back, CMC or Jordan Mason, which is so tough because you've been waiting so long to play him, but you got to see what he's going to be. He's just coming off of Achilles tendonitis in both legs. You don't know which running back is going to play, and you don't want to play either one and have them be zero. So I'm sitting both until I get a better clarification. Everyone else, though, in this game, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel on the San Francisco side, you're playing all of them. On the other side, Baker Mayfield, Rashad White, Bucky Irving, Cade Otton. I'm playing all of them because they're all catch passes and they're going to need it.
They're all catch passes. Who also, Chris McCaffrey is a catch pass.
Pest catcher.
All right, I totally whiffed that joke. I was trying to call you out, and I totally failed it. But I want to make one point for CMC. I think CMC, I get your perspective, but if you're a Christian McCaffrey fantasy owner, you've wasted 10 weeks, and your record is probably maybe you're going to be 3-6. You're going to be, if you're lucky,
maybe
4
you're 500. Yeah,
right. You're playing him. He is the guy. You're playing him. I mean, that's just end of story. You obviously have no other running backs. You need him in your lineup. You're going to play him. I'm going to play him. I have him in a league, and I'm just going to throw him in and just hope.
And you're going to hope, though. Like, you're going to hope. Like,
you're also going to hope
it,
that San Francisco was smart and didn't rush him back because Jordan Mason played so well that it was like, okay, maybe we've got more time than we realized to make sure he's 100%.
That's true.
And Christian McCaffrey, it's all about hope. You've been hoping for the past 10 weeks that he was going to be in your starting lineup. He's there. You're playing him. I know it's a shot in the dark, but he's got potential.
It's a risk.
It's a risk. You're right.
This is a high risk, very high reward. And if you have him, you're probably going to be in that situation.
I'm just saying, if you drafted CMC and you still have him, then you either really messed up and you're basically not winning in your league, or you traded for him and you're hoping that he's going to be that difference maker for you to win the championship.
He could be. He just might be.
That's exactly what Tyler's hoping for.
Moving on to the next matchup, we have Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Washington Commanders. This is going to be an exciting game, I think. You've got Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson's been playing pretty well. I think, again, another guy who I think is a serviceable quarterback, especially with all the bye weeks. They just traded for Mike Williams, which I think is going to open up the offense and just make it easier to get the ball to George Pickens. So I think I'm starting George Pickens this week. Russell's been playing well. They got another receiver to play opposite of him. I'm excited to see what this offense is going to become. Now,
I agree.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about the running backs for Pittsburgh, though? Najee's pretty good, but he doesn't always find the end zone, and they've got Jalen Warren handcuffed to him. Are you starting
Najee's a play? Najee is a play. The past 3 weeks, he's rushed for over 100 yards each week, and that's with not 50% or more in every game of the being the starting percentage. I think Najee.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean snap percentage. That's what he was. In week 6 and 7, he was less than sub 50% snap percentage. Week 8, he was 59%. And he has still had 100 rushing yards. I'm getting jumbled today.
Tyler.
So I think Najee for me is definitely a confident start, especially with Washington's defense.
Yeah, so we're putting Najee on the start list if you got him. On Washington's side of the ball, you've got Jaden Daniels. Mike,
say it, Mike. Say it.
No, I agree with you because I think he's going to be such a big part of the offense, but I also see that path. And just like you have to understand there's that path where they are going to get behind because Washington is such a good offense that they have to throw the ball, and Najee gets 5 carries all game.
And I could see that being a path as well, but he's your guy. You've got him in your lineup. Again, he's one of those guys you're going to put in.
I agree you have to play him. I just am nervous about it.
You also ride the hot hand. And like Tyler pointed out,
Yeah.
he's had over 100 yards the past 3 weeks. Honestly, if you're down, even though he plays running back, you still might give it to him to get some yards.
And I think the matchup is just juicy. Washington does not have a great rush defense. They are a juicy defense to go up against as a running back.
Now Jordan. No, you're okay. Washington Commanders, who are you starting for sure on their side? Jaden Daniels, 100% starting. McLaurin, I want to confidently start him. I really do.
Oh, he's a lock. He's a lock.
Yeah.
Go.
But I'm not
wide receiver
that
6 on the season. Wide receiver 6 on the season.
Dude, he has multiple games that if you just take away one touchdown.
That's the point. He got the touchdown.
Yeah, but we've talked. Okay, but he's been pretty consistent, and I'm definitely going to start him. But he sometimes, McLaurin sometimes worries me. He gets two receptions, 19 yards, and a touchdown.
I get where you're coming from, but I think you're playing him no matter what.
The most comparable game
Pittsburgh's
I have
a good defense. Joey Porter Jr. is going to be on him all night. But
that's true. The defense is a hard matchup.
It's a hard
Chicago's
matchup.
a great defense, and he had 8 targets, 5 receptions, and 125 yards. No touchdowns.
We'll see. I'm, some
your worry is noted, just like mine with Najee is noted.
Yes,
fair. And other than that, I think if you got Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr., you got to start him. Eckler had a touchdown last week. He's playing well.
Brian Robinson Jr. Make sure he's healthy and start him.
Yeah, I think they're both starts though if they're healthy. Yeah, they're a good dynamic too.
Flex-worthy.
In the Commanders. But moving on to Tennessee Titans versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Gosh, it's another one. On the Tennessee side, you're starting Tony Pollard. I mean, if you're trusting it, Los Angeles Chargers have such a good defense though, so I think there's better options than Calvin Ridley this week. So I would steer clear of him if I were you. On the Los Angeles Chargers side, J.K. Dobbins, Justin Herbert, their starts, the guys that you're going to want to look to flex because you're going up against an average Tennessee Titans defense, you're going to look to flex Ladd McConkey. And let's see if it's him or Quentin Johnson, who is now coming into the room. We talked about it last episode, but he's coming into the room as a potential flex wide receiver.
Yeah, he's definitely a potential flex. Quentin Johnson's getting more involved. I think you're right about Tony Pollard. You got to start him. And it comes back to what we talked about last episode, the sheer volume. 28 carries. Yeah. He's their best player on offense. They're going to give him the ball.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mike.
I like that. I do, but I think I'm mostly steering clear of this game. I don't really love a lot of the weapons here, but I do love the weapons in the next game here. And we're going to cover the Jets versus Arizona. And I think
those transitions, man.
Call me crazy, but the Jets actually might have an offense right now. I think their top 4 are all starts, and I'm including Aaron Rodgers in that. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, who is quietly the number 5 wide receiver. Is he number 5? I think he's like the number 5 wide receiver, number 3 in our league. So he's been dominant, especially since Adams came back. Right, quietly, and then Breece Hall, all of them total locks. And then on the other side of the ball, Kyler Murray. Throw them in because they're going to have to try and keep up with this offense. I really, really have to stay with McBride and James Conner. You are locking in. The only one I'm nervous about, honestly, is Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the only guy who on the offense I don't want to play. He's going to go against Sauce Gardner. He's not going to get a lot of room. And on top of that, he's proven that he cannot catch a contested catch.
Yeah, if you have a better option.
Yeah, I was going to ask Jordan, piggybacking off that, would you go Marvin Harrison Jr. or Ladd McConkey?
I was thinking the same thing. I would choose Ladd McConkey.
I think I would too.
Quentin Johnston, I would. Without a doubt.
What about Marvin Harrison Jr. or Brian Thomas Jr.?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, that's not even a question.
I don't like either of them.
Oh, I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot.
Absolutely.
Man, what's interesting about this matchup, Mike, you touched on it a little bit. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. A lot of people thought that, get rid of Garrett Wilson. He's not going to perform. I took the opposite route, and I said Devontae is going to open up the offense, and Garrett's going to start putting up more fantasy points.
And you are correct. That's exactly the way it worked out.
Now, Are we hopeful this will happen for George Pickens in Pittsburgh the same way it happens?
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up, but we moved on from the game. I am with you. I think Mike Williams and George Pickens might be very good for each other.
Yes, yeah. And I think that Mike Williams wasn't a huge part of the formula for the Jets. I do think that him leaving doesn't change that. Devontae is going to put up decent points, but I still think Garrett Wilson's the guy who gets the major points.
It's very similar to how T. Higgins affects Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Man. Okay, moving
Jordan, you're
on
up.
to the next matchup. We got Philadelphia Eagles versus Dallas Cowboys. Whew. NFC East divisional matchup. This one's going to be a fun one. Man, so
Is it?
I'm excited for this game. I just like divisional matchups. But and I mean,
it's gonna really be bad for.
I hate it. I hate watching him wear green, but I do love to watch Saquon. So
yeah,
man. Speaking of Saquon, Philadelphia's side of the ball. Who are you starting? Pretty much everyone. Dallas is not good this year. So you're starting Hurts. You're starting Saquon. You're starting Devonta Smith. You're starting AJ Brown if he's healthy.
Who's the backup to Saquon?
It's Kenneth.
I might start him.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, Kenneth Gainwell.
I'm kidding. I'm
Don't
just saying
start.
I might start him.
Yeah, no.
Are we even considering Dallas Goedert?
Yeah.
I think if you don't have a better honestly,
I think you are.
I think you're starting pretty much everyone on Philadelphia's offense this week. They've been playing well on offense, and now they have a good matchup for them. Mike?
I don't like Goddard, but I'm playing everyone else. I think there's too many other capable tight ends. I'd play Dalton Schultz over him. We'll get to that game later.
We'll get to that.
I would. I would do both. Either.
Man, now on Dallas' side of the ball, I think the only person you're probably starting because you have to, and you don't have better options, is CeeDee Lamb. With Cooper Rush playing quarterback, he can put up decent points, but it's not going to be like Sam Darnold coming in and helping JJ put up the points he does. It's like CeeDee's going to take a backseat. Same with Jake Ferguson. Same with Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle, I think, is going to be I think confidently flex him. They're going to have to run the ball. I think Dowdle. You're going to play
Dowdle
him.
Pops. They're going to have to lean on him.
I don't know Pops, but he stays with your average 12, 14, 16 points, which, look.
How much do you believe in Cooper Rush?
That's why I believe they're going to run the ball.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, I don't know. Let's talk about how did Kamara do when Derek Carr went down? Not great. But then look at the Panthers. Chuba Hubbard did better when Andy Dalton came in. Quarterback play really affects the running backs. So that's
a different story with Bryce Young. So
but you get my point.
Moving on to the Detroit Lions versus the Houston Texans. Detroit, they are just finding ways to win the ball game. They kind of are looking a little bit like the Chiefs. We always say Patrick Mahomes just does enough to win games, and now it looks like that is the Lions team in general, their offense and their defense. They just do enough to win. They don't need to go and they like to showboat, especially against the Cowboys, but other than that, they're just winning games. I think you're still going to start Jared Goff. You're going to start Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Laporta's moving into that flex category, but look, you draft him where you draft him. You're going to play him. Houston isn't notorious for a great defense. On the Houston side, look, Tank Dell is still the only option until Nico Collins comes back, so you're going to start him as well as Joe Mixon. But Stroud, we talked about him last episode, and he is still someone that you're not really happy with. But look, you paid for him. You're not going to bench him for someone who's like who would you bench him for? Kirk Cousins?
I think I would. It's so sad because this game I would have loved this game if the weapons were there for Houston, because it would have truly been I believe that CJ Stroud was basically like a Patrick Mahomes, where he would do just enough to win and he didn't care about his stats.
Yeah.
He's kind of proven that he hasn't been as good recently, and I want to blame it for the weapons, but I'm starting to lean the other way now. I think I would definitely bench CJ Stroud for Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
And that entire wave.
What about Tua or Matt Stafford?
With Tua, I would play over him. Stafford, I would play over him. That entire range, I think
Really?
Stroud is entering sit category.
Wait,
Okay.
hold on. But Nico Collins is coming back. I think that changes
That's not confirmed yet. It might be. It's not confirmed for.
Yeah, potentially.
He's not even off.
Sorry,
He's not even in his 21-day window.
No,
I don't think he's in his 21-day window for IR yet. They haven't opened him up.
There's talk, but again, there's no
I thought they
confirmation.
had.
I think he's still a ways away.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he might be benched until Nico comes back. I would start Kirk Cousins over him, especially if Drake London's healthy.
All right, Mike, take us home.
All right, last game but not least, we're talking Miami and the Rams. I like this game as an offensive weapon because I don't think either of them have exactly a great defense here, but we were just talking about it. I'd play Tua, especially over CJ Stroud this week. Tua, Tyreek, Achane, they've all proven to be, whether it be this year or in the past, superstars. And I don't think Tyreek has lost his step in any way, shape, or form. Guys who I'm definitely sitting, though, I'm definitely sitting Waddle at this point. I need to see it before I can actually believe in Jalen Waddle anymore. Where do we fall, though, with Raheem Mostert? I think I would still play Mostert. I think his explosiveness is still there. He has still had the efficiency whenever he's gotten the touches. He just hasn't gotten the end zone. And I think the Rams are going to have enough holes in the defense to have him get the end zone.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree or no?
I do.
Okay. The only people I wouldn't be playing, I guess, for both of these teams, I'm definitely not playing either of their defenses because I think on the Rams side of the ball, you're going to have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua back, Kyron Williams back, and Stafford. Like I already said, they're playing. You're not playing these defenses. All the plays except for Waddle are pretty much in.
Man,
and I agree 100%. I mean, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, both going to pop, and I think the Rams, they've got their offense back as long as no one throws fists at another player.
Damn it, Puka.
Matt Stafford has his weapons, and they pulled it out last week.
And DeMarcus Robinson stepped up when Puka got ejected. I think these are, like you said, Mike, high-scoring game. This and actually Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football might be the highest-scoring games of the week.
Wow.
Very exciting. And so I do predict a high-scoring game. I also predict that every time Tua runs, I'm going to cringe and go, oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
That's exact. That happened to me last week.
Dude, when he ran and he dove head first, I was like, no.
Oh, my God. I was so scared.
Honestly,
I never...
I had a split-second thought where I was like, Tua's about to die.
Uh-huh.
Like,
I'm like, he's done.
I realized now I actually love Tua because I got so scared. I'm like, I just want the best for him. I just want the best for him on a genuine human level.
Also, talk about how we all thought his receivers were making him look good, and look how bad these other supposed to be NFL caliber quarterbacks were at getting it to fast receivers. That's a skill within itself to be able to get the pass to a fast guy.
Yeah. For him to actually be able to produce that, for the offense to not produce until he gets back, it's actually been revolutionary for the team.
Yeah,
I agree. But that is our Week 10 preview. Moving on. We have Duel of the Fools for Week 10. Jordan, give us our first quarterback matchup.
All right, we got Joe Burrow, whose opponent is Baltimore Ravens, taking on Jalen Hurts, whose opponent is Dallas Cowboys. I personally went with Hurts. I think he's going to cook this week. Tyler?
I actually went with Joe Burrow. Last minute change up there. I think this game between the Ravens and the Bengals is going to be a shootout. It is a grudge match, I think, between two great quarterbacks, and I think Burrows is going to continue to throw a massive amount of touchdowns.
He just might. It was 41-38 last time. I mean,
41-38.
Mike, who'd you? Oh, my goodness.
I just had to do a switch, too. I don't even know if I believe it. I think Joe Burrow, when this offense cooks, it cooks through Joe Burrow. When this offense cooks through for the Eagles, I think it goes through right now Saquon And I think I have to switch to Joe Burrow.
Wow.
I did switch to Joe Burrow.
A last minute switch when we all started feeling Hurts. Now, running back matchup, I'm sticking with Hurts. Or should I go Burrow too? I'm kidding. So, running back matchup 1. We got Najee Harris taking on Washington Commanders, or Tony Pollard going against LA Chargers. Tyler, who do you have?
I went with Tony Pollard against the Chargers. I know it's a good defense, but I think Russell Wilson loves to throw the ball, and he's going to continue to do so. Tony Pollard performs pretty much no matter what. He's getting the targets. He's getting the rushing attempts. He's over 80% almost from week 7 to 9, 70%, over 80% snap count. I think Tony Pollard's going to pull ahead.
I like Najee Harris in this one. Even though we were debating it before, I did say before I think Najee Harris should still be a play. I think in tempered, but I do think he's going to outperform Tony Pollard against the Chargers. I don't like the Chargers defense.
Man, Chargers defense is just too good. I decided to go
Especially
as
against the
well.
rush.
Yeah, they're very good against the rush. Jim Harbaugh's that defense is awesome under him as a head coach. I went with Najee Harris as well, Mike. Moving on to the RB matchup 2. You got Saquon Barkley, opponent Dallas Cowboys, or Devon Achane, opponent LA Rams. Mike, who did you pick?
I had to go with Devon Achane. He's been too explosive and he's been too focal on the offense. Like, he's just been amazing. He's Devon Achane. He's one of a kind.
Yeah, I actually went, Jordan, I know you and I picked the same, but I went on the flip side with Saquon Barkley against Dallas. They're going to get ahead early and they're going to run the ball. And without A.J. Brown, they're going to rely on their only offensive weapon, which is Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to, have another game with 2 touchdowns plus.
Come on, Devonta Smith.
I believe that Eagles offense runs through Saquon Barkley right now, which you just said about the court. So I went with Saquon. I think he's going to cook Dallas. Now, yeah, he's going to beat Dallas.
I have been known to be wrong in the
wearing
past.
green and not blue. Sad. So RB matchup 3, we got Travis Etienne versus Minnesota Vikings and Tank Bigsby versus Minnesota Vikings. I went with Bigsby. He's been playing a little better. I don't trust Etienne coming back from his injuries to be what he's been. Who'd you guys pick?
I agree with you, Jordan. I think Bigsby is going to be the point leader in this offense, only because of his history.
You do not sound very confident in that one.
I don't, because Etienne is a young guy and can, now he's only 1 year less in the league than Tank Bigsby, but I think Etienne, they drafted where they drafted him, they got him where they got him, and they're going to want to keep pushing this guy out. If not, he's going to be running back 2 in this offense. So I went with Tank Bigsby. I think he's going to be the clear standout RB.
I mean, Bigsby is the much younger one, but Etienne
is he really?
Etienne. Yeah, Bigsby's a second-year guy, and Etienne is in his But I will say, I think Etienne is the pass catcher, and right now he's the one getting paid. So I think he's going to be the guy, especially mostly because of the pass catching. So I went with Etienne.
But also, isn't Tank Bigsby a large part of him? No, it's not. Never mind.
Man,
you're right. I renege on that. Go, Jordan.
Does that mean you're switching?
No.
No, I stuck with Tank Bigsby. Wide receiver matchup 1, we got George Pickens taking on the Commanders, or Josh Down taking on the Bills. I went with George Pickens. This goes back to my theory about how you bring in, when you have, a variety of receivers, it opens up the field for the guy you really want to get the ball to. I think George Pickens is going to get the ball even more. Kind of like how we saw Zay Flowers get a ton of passes with Deontay Johnson. They're doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I agree with your point. I don't think it's going to happen just yet. Mike Williams is not the same flash as Devontae Adams, so I am going Josh Downs because I do believe he is the guy.
Do you think he's the same flash as Deontay Johnson?
Right, nope.
Really? Okay. So you went with Josh Downs. Tyler, who'd you pick?
I went with George Pickens, as I said.
Okay. Washington, or what receiver matchup 2. Now I'm jumbling my words. You pass it on to me, Ty. You've got Cooper Kupp taking on Miami Dolphins, or DeAndre Hopkins going against the Denver Broncos. Tyler, who'd you pick?
I went with Cooper Kupp. I like the matchup.
I also like the matchup. I went with Cooper Kupp. I don't like that feeling anymore, but I am still going Cooper Kupp.
I decided to be a little different. I do think that, Cooper had a great game last week, but Demarcus Robinson stepped up. I think Kyron Williams will get more involved, and Puka's no longer going to be ejected. DeAndre Hopkins,
Fair.
he really clicked. And I think Mahomes is going to have to lean on him to beat a good defense. Wide receiver matchup 3. Jamar Chase taking on the Ravens or Malik Neighbors going against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
Man,
I went with Jamar Chase. This is going to be a shootout, and I'm still holding to it. I'm doing the Jamar Chase Joe Burrow stack right now.
Mike, who'd you go
I
with?
love that. I love that because I have Joe Burrow, but I'm going Malik Neighbors because I think the kid is just a generational talent against a piss-poor Carolina team.
I agree with that. And as weird as it is, it's just sometimes Jamar Chase puts up a dud or he explodes. And I don't know what to expect from him, but I'm pretty confident Neighbors is going to have a good game against Carolina. Then you have the tight end matchup. You've got Kyle Pitts taking on the Saints and Trey McBride taking on the Jets. Mike, who do you have?
I went with Trey McBride. New York Jets, Sauce Gardner is going to be focused on Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride's going to be the guy getting all the passes. That's what I'm thinking and relying on, and I just don't trust Kyle Pitts anymore.
Yeah, I actually went with Kyle Pitts, and that's only because Drake London is day-to-day, but I don't particularly expect him to play, especially with an injured hip. It'll be interesting for him to actually even perform as a wide receiver, which leaves the room open for Kyle Pitts and Darnell Mooney as the wide receivers
Bijan
on
Robinson.
this team. And yes, true, don't want to discount it, but the New Orleans Saints don't have a good passing defense at all, and I think the ball is going to be thrown. Kirk Cousins loves to throw the ball, and I think he's going to do that, and it's going to go to Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I also went with Kyle Pitts. I think he's going to get a decent amount of passes, especially if Drake London's out. Not that Trey McBride's going to have a bad game. It's just that Jets has a stronger defense.
Yep.
Man.
But anyway, that is Duel of the Foolz for Week 10. And I just want to take a moment and thank you for listening to episode 45 of the Fantasy Foolz podcast. We will be back next week. Good luck in your matchups as we get closer to the playoff season. Keep staying strong, keep playing your good players, and don't give up yet. See you next week, Fools.